Yeah.
Hello, Harrison. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Sydney. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much
I'm
for
so,
joining.
yeah, no, thank you. I mean, I thought I was gonna definitely get this wrong. The fact that I'm on here is a success. I think we've done well so far. We can end it there, right? I mean, this
Yeah,
was part of
amazing.
the whole thing.
I'm
Yeah.
so
How are
proud of
you
us
doing?
already. I'm good. How are you doing? I was gonna say this morning, but it's definitely night where you are right now, right?
It is. It is evening here. To be fair, we've had a great day here in London. I mean, the weather's been pretty good. We get like 2 days of sun a year, so this is a good day, and hence why I feel like if you dress like it's summer, then you feel like it's summer. So that's the kind of vibe I'm going for.
I love that. Good vibes only. But
Always, always.
I'm so happy that we are here to talk about the Irregulars because I saw the screeners a while ago but haven't been able to really talk about it with anyone. So I can't even imagine how good it must feel for you getting to finally talk about this show.
It's a weird thing, especially when you've been like working on something for like a year and a half. We started shooting like a year and a half ago, and then for it to be like accessible now to everyone is a bit daunting, but it seems to have a good response so far. So yeah, I'm just enjoying every minute of it, to be honest. But I got a few people text me when it came out, and they were like, "Oh, mate, I've smashed through it," and I was like, it came out today. I spent like a year and a half making this, and you're telling me you went through in 8 hours. So yeah, no, I got to be grateful for that, and yeah, I'm just enjoying everything at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely a very bingeable show. I know I watched it all in one sitting. Thought I was only going to watch like 1 or 2 episodes and then maybe, go and live my life and come back to it. But I just couldn't stop watching it. So it's cool to see that like that has
I mean, yeah,
reaction.
definitely. I mean, when we got sent the episodes like a month before it released, and I was like, maybe it's a good idea. I should watch like one a week, like building up to release. But I blitzed through it in a day. To be fair, because it is a very bingeable show, which is a good thing, I think. And yeah, I just blitzed through it.
It's also such a good show for right now when people are stuck at home. They need some kind of like escapist entertainment. There's nothing more escapist than the Irregulars. It really just draws you in right from the jump, and you don't want to let go.
Don't want to leave. Yeah, I mean, like I think the show does an amazing thing of being able to go to that escapism of going into 19th century London and seeing what it's all about. I think there's a bit more ghouls and monsters than what most 19th century shows are about, and they definitely keep you on your toes. But it's good, and like I'm glad you think so too.
Yeah, I think when people think of a Sherlock Holmes story, they don't necessarily think of like the supernatural aspect, but I think that's such a thing that the Irregulars does. It's not only is it not really about Sherlock, it's about these teens, but it's also this cool supernatural world that I think it took a lot of people by surprise.
For sure. And it took me by surprise. I remember getting the audition side straight through, and I thought, oh, this is a cool like supernatural show. Seems like it's going to be a cool story. And then in the second auditions, they were like, oh yeah, this is a Sherlock Holmes adaptation as well. I was like, what? Wait, what? That's awesome. That's so cool. And to combine those two worlds together, and I think there has been so many Sherlock adaptations and things, and they've all been great. But to be part of a story that hasn't been told before and characters that we know nothing about is something really exciting and I think unique in a way. And the fact that we get to follow these 5 characters that no one really knows anything about and see their sort of backstories, the relationships they have with each other has been a real privilege to play. And yeah, just enjoyed every minute.
And were you a fan of Sherlock Holmes before you signed on to the project?
I mean, I saw the Robert Downey Jr. versions. I've never actually seen Benedict Sherlock. I kind of thought of it as that I was going to read up on it, but my character has obviously been kept away at home for like 17 years. And when he experienced London for the first time, that's his first time experiencing it. And I was like, well, I'll just go in as like a blank slate then, and I'll just learn as the character. So it actually worked out pretty well. But since then, I've been reading up on the Sherlock stuff, and it's good. I mean, to have like such an iconic character that everyone knows is a real great thing, and yeah, it's just amazing.
And yeah, speaking of your character, something that I was taken surprise by was when I was watching, I didn't realize that it was actually based on the real Prince Leopold. Was that something that you drew on and like researched to kind of infuse your portrayal with who he actually was in real life?
For sure. I mean, like it was an interesting thing for me to play someone sort of factual and be able to like look up online what the actual factual Leopold was about. And then straight away you learn that like his mother was super overprotective of him. His sort of teachers had noticed how incredibly clever he was from a young age. So it all fits into that story. And then we obviously had an amazing showrunner, Tom Bidwell, and a writer that I literally was always a text away or a call away. So anytime that I had any sort of questions about anything, he was always there to sort of guide me through. And we were very lucky to have him.
Mm-hmm. And so what did you kind of draw on to build your portrayal of Prince Leo? Was it, you know, something that you relied on a lot from Tom, or was it something that you wanted to kind of craft yourself?
Yeah, I mean, once I had a couple of the scripts and I knew we were going to be shooting off in Liverpool, I went and spent a load of time with my granddad because he's the most gentlemanly man I know and the perfectly spoken, got incredible manners. And I was like, that's a bit of Leo, to be honest. So if I just go and spend a bit more time with him and make some secret notes in my head while we're having like a hot cross bun and sitting outside in the garden, it means I get to hang out with my granddad and I can count it as research. So spending a bit of time with him was really good fun. And then I also bought myself like a little collapsible walking stick to take to Liverpool, and I was basically roaming the corridors of our hotel. People gave me a few little looks, but you know, all part of the process.
So it sounds like you really went method, you know, walking with the cane, even offset.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, you kind of have to. I mean, like I don't know about you, but I don't often walk with a walking stick or a cane, so like it's a completely new thing, and like to be able to go onto set and go, oh yeah, I've done this before. I've had a few goes back at the house, so hopefully I'll be a bit more proficient.
And since you based a lot on, you know, your granddad, has he watched the show? Have you heard, you know, what his reaction was?
Yeah, he's watched 2 episodes as far as I'm aware, and like we've been chatting about it and stuff. And he actually came up to set when we were filming episode 4, and I think it took him a bit by surprise, like how long it takes to shoot like one scene. Because he was like, "Are you not going to be doing anything else today?" I was like, "I'm sorry, Granddad. This actually takes quite a long time." But I think he was just amazed to see like how many people work on set and all their different jobs, and it really opened his eyes to that. And coming from a very like academic family, we've got a few people in the arts, but me doing this is completely unheard of in our family. So it's an amazing thing to share that with my mom, my granddad, my whole family. It's just been awesome.
Mm-hmm. And outside of your family, like what has been the response that you've seen like on social media or even in real life now that the show has been out?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like I try not to get too sucked into it, but as far as I'm aware, like everyone's been really lovely, and I'm so grateful to have like a fan base, which is all a weird thing to say. The people are like supporting the show and they like it, they like the characters, and that's all really I was hoping for. Like regardless of what the critics say or anything like that, if people can get behind these characters and connect with it and relate to it at home, that's all that matters to me. And I think that's one of the main assets of the show, is to have sort of 5 individual characters that are all very different backstories and different qualities, that hopefully someone can at least relate to one of them at least, and get behind that story and want to see more of it.
Mm-hmm. And so since the show, you know, does rely on a lot of these irregulars and their friendship and their bonds with each other, how did you guys, you know, build that dynamic and that chemistry when you weren't filming?
I hate those guys. I couldn't wait to get away. It's really, really tough. From the start, even from the read through, meeting the rest of the guys, it was clear that it was going to be a fun ride. And it's quite a daunting thing when you get told you're going to be moving away to a city that you've never been to before with guys that you've never met. And we all just we got on so well so quickly. And I think we really carried each other through the job. I think when you're working for sort of 8 months, 15-hour days, 5 a.m. starts, you need to have people around you. And when your family aren't there, you've got to rely on your mates. And we all formed such a close bond that we got through it together. And that just makes it even more special when with it coming out now.
Mm-hmm. And it must have been interesting for you since, you know, Leo is kind of the audience's way into the world of the Irregulars, since, you know, the other 4 of them have just been a family and they're found family their whole lives, and Leo is meeting them for the first time in the premiere. So how was that you bringing that to life?
Yeah, it was a weird one, because obviously we're all starting out the same, but these guys have a lot of scenes together before even I come up, and I remember them coming back from work because we were all staying in the same like apartment building, and they'd be like, "Oh, that was a great day. Oh, remember when you did this and you did that?" And I was like, "Oh, it sounds great, guys. Yeah, no, I can't wait when we can share that all together." So it was a bit of a distance, but I also had the luxury of being like, they'd come back from a hard day and be like, "Oh, we're filming in this horrible taxidermy shop. It was moldy. There were horrible things around. What did you get up today?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I was at a ballroom party, and the music was quite loud. I mean, like I was wearing this like cravat thing. It was kind of like constraining. Yeah, there were two very different lives that were going on in the Irregulars, and I got to play the much more luxurious one."
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of that, your wardrobe had to be the most envious out of everyone, I'm assuming.
It was sick. I mean, yeah, I was very lucky. I mean, like all the Leo's costumes, I was like, these are so cool. And it's such a great thing when like you can put on a costume and you just kind of immediately like slip into that world. Like I didn't have to act. I was just like, this is just kind of like amazing to try on all these royal attires. And yeah, as the series goes on, Leo gets more involved, obviously, with the other Irregulars and wants to be more like down and dirty. And I'm like talking to Tom, texting him like, "Hey, mate, maybe we should do like another palace scene. What do you think about that? Maybe some bit more of the royal attire. Give that a go." So yeah, no, he has some incredible costumes for sure.
Mm-hmm. Was there any piece of his wardrobe that you tried to take after the season wrapped?
Everything. I tried to take everything. I was like, maybe I can just load it up in a suitcase and go. And they were, but the problem is with Leo's clothes, it's quite expensive stuff. Like it's all like made to look like you're royalty. So when I was like, "Hey, would you mind if I just take this like jacket home?" And they'd be like, "Absolutely not. It's so expensive. Can't just give that to you." So hopefully one day I'll be able to take something home of Leo's, but it's definitely on the wish list at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like they'd notice if you somehow, spirited away with one of those fabulous jackets.
I know. It's tough. They yeah, it'd be hard for them to go missing, I think.
But looking back on, the first season, what was your favorite part about bringing this character to life?
There was so many things. I mean, for me, like to be able to play a character that has like a real journey, like a real arc. Like when we first meet Leo, he's really like wrapped in cotton wool, like been kept away from the world, doesn't know really who he is. All he knows is that he's a prince, and that's the label that he's had from the beginning. And throughout the series, he starts to encounter other people. He encounters like a bit of romance as well, which is a completely new world for him. And as the series progresses, he really starts to find his feet, stand up to people that have been putting him down his whole life. And that was a real joy for me to play and to grow in that role as the series continued.
Mm-hmm. And there's also a lot of really cool, like supernatural horror elements to the show. So what was that like for you, having to kind of act around that? Was a lot of it like added in later, or were there like practical cool effects happening when you were on set?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there was a few times where they were literally like, "Okay, this tennis ball is a flock of 1,000 birds," and you're like, "Oh, okay, that's gonna be interesting. I wonder what that'll turn out like." And it turned out great, which was amazing. But quite a lot of the time, we were quite lucky because the hair and makeup team, Lucy Sibic, who was heading that, made a lot of the stuff practical. Like there's a bit in episode 4 where the villain basically is able to sort of cut people's faces off and then can put them on herself and turn into that person. And I remember like walking around set one day, just like having a cup of tea and just seeing these 4 faces all on the floor, like these bloody, gory faces. And I'm like, that's part of it, right? That's part of the scene. There's not just like this weird props going on. And so to have like something that is so tangible and to be actually scared of was a real privilege. And we were lucky to have that and to react off that is a massive thing for me.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that just adds a whole other layer when it comes to acting, is like bringing in those otherworldly elements and still making it feel like
Sure.
It's real and it's not actually fake.
Definitely. And like I think one of the good things in the show is obviously we have this crazy supernatural side of things going on, and it can get pretty chaotic, but to have characters that are so grounded and so sort of authentic and real is a really important thing. So you can have all this chaos going on, but you can still relate and connect with these characters that are real people. And Tom Bidwell did an amazing job of making them 3-dimensional and actual people.
Mm-hmm. And this is your first, major lead role on a project, but you've had a really interesting path to, your first lead role. You've actually been involved in some like massive projects before your first lead role, which I feel like usually happens the other way around. So what is that? Like?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, it was amazing. Like I did like the whole drama school route, and I had an amazing time there. And I came out of drama school, and then my mate Tom was working on these sort of big CGI films in America, and he was like, "Do you want to just come along? We can run lines and do that kind of thing." And I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go!" I mean, that sounds incredible. And to be able to go onto these like big action Marvel movies and see how they all worked and see how the actors interacted with people was just such an amazing experience. And it was kind of like my like gap year, like the most crazy gap year that you can imagine, and taking all this sort of experience from that and making all the contacts as well. And I built up my team from that. And then I had my first sort of self-tape through, which was Catch 22. And that was pretty much my first job. And working with someone like George Clooney, who directed and produced it, was an incredible experience. And I was very lucky to do that.
Yeah, not only was that like your gap year, I feel like you were getting such a great education from those experiences. Like they say you learn more in like your first year out of school than you do in school. And I feel like that, is so true for you. You were around these, big legends like George Clooney on these big, massive projects. I feel like you probably learned quite a lot from that.
Definitely. And like to have someone that you admire, you have admired from like a young age, like George Clooney, and to be working with him in like, I remember like doing the scenes where it was literally being in Rome in this big studio in this like tin can of a plane. It was me, George, the other actor Chris, and the DOP. And I remember just kind of taking a step back, being like, "This is pretty cool. Like, this is mad. This is not a normal like Tuesday." So yeah, it was just an incredible experience. And then to be able to like ring my family up afterwards and be like, "This is what I did today. This is quite cool. Do you want to hear this?" So yeah, it's just been awesome. I've just been learning and growing from those experiences, and hopefully putting it into practice now.
Mm-hmm. Was that like your craziest pinch me moment of like, oh, I finally made it? Or was it did you have that moment on another project?
Yeah. I mean, it was on Catch 22 where literally like, they were like, "Oh, camera setup's going to be about an hour and a half, guys. If you guys just want to chill on the beach, we'll bring you some like mango and like some fruit and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, I'm well into that." And I remember my mum ringing me then and being like, "How's work? Is it tough?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's really difficult here, Mum. Like eating this mango. Like, yeah, no, it's really tough days, long days. I'm really struggling." But no, yeah, that was a moment where I was just like, I'm very lucky to be doing what I do and doing what I love. And just going from strength from that.
Mm-hmm. I feel like the only thing missing from that whole situation is someone like hand feeding you grapes.
That's the next job. That's what's coming up next. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I can't have peaked yet. There's still a bit of time. There's still stuff to come.
Well, what's the biggest like piece of advice or thing that you learned from, being on like those big like Marvel movies, or like working around George or working with Tom? Like, is there anything that you always will remember and like take with you into projects now?
I think just the professionalism. When you're starting out as an actor, you hear of these sort of like sometimes horror stories of how people are on set or anything like that, and to see these sort of big people in the industry being just normal guys and being so kind and caring, talking to everyone, knowing everyone's name was just like a small thing that I've taken with me. And I think you just have to be humble in those moments because it is such a hard industry, and like you really, when you get that opportunity, you have to make the most of it. And there's no reason to be difficult or anything like that. I'm just so happy to be on these sets and to be working alongside such talented people that I'm not taking any moment for granted, and I'm just happy and doing what I love. So I'm very lucky. I'm one of the lucky people, and it's also knowing that these jobs come few and far between sometimes. So you have to keep busy, you have to keep humble, you have to keep going with a smile, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of being lucky, the Irregulars first season just came out. I know I can't be the only one dying to see what happens after that finale. So what are the chances that we're going to get a second season of The Irregulars?
Who knows? I mean, I'd love it. I'd love a second season, and I'd love to keep like exploring this story. And I think we've done a great job of like wrapping a lot of things up in the first season, but also leaving so much scope for so much more. And we just all I can do is just like I hope people enjoy it. I hope people connect with the characters, and I hope they want to see more of it as much as I do. And because I'm a fan as well, like I'm not just an actor in this. I love the series. I love these characters, and I love the guys. And yeah, no, I'm hoping for the best, but we just have to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's out of my hands. It's out of my hands. I got nothing to do with it. All I can say is just keep watching it. If you like it, tell people about it, and yeah, just hope for the best, really.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to be talking spoilers now. So anyone who's watching and hasn't finished the first season, now is your time to hop out of here because we will be talking spoilers, very heavy spoilers. So fair warning, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
For those who did finish watching the finale, obviously it ends on a really heartbreaking note for Leo and Bea. I feel like everyone was kind of rooting for them to make it work. They are no longer together by the end of the first season. So what was your reaction when you found out that like that was going to be their ending in the finale?
I mean, it was a difficult one. I mean, it's a crazy thing because we were only getting sort of 2 episodes at a time. So even when when we were shooting sort of episode 2 and 3, I didn't even know what was going to happen in these later episodes. And it was also really frustrating because we'd be on set and then one of the camera DOPs would be like, "Oh my God, that scene in episode 8." And I'm like, you've read episode 8? No way. How have you read that? That's crazy. And yeah, so to leave on that note is an interesting one, but I think it's, as I said, leave scope for us to come back and maybe figure out what the hell's going on. But yeah, it was a tough thing to read for the first time, but it's such an amazing scene written by Tom, and I was just happy to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is going through Leo's mind? You know, at the end, she's making this sacrifice. You know, so Billy isn't going to the rest of his life in jail, but that means that he has to now be, you know, in this arranged marriage. How is Leo going to be dealing with all this moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I think like one of the main things, and I've spoke about it earlier, of like the journey of Leo and like growing as a person and trying to become that irregular it was the ultimate sacrifice to keep these guys together. And the price he had to pay is that he had to leave. And I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we don't know if it is going to happen, but it's really interesting. And it's so many possibilities, which is mad. Like I'm constantly just sitting here just going, well, that could happen, or well, that could happen as well. Like there's so many things that could go on. And yeah, we hope that I get to be part of it.
And what was it like filming that, you know, final scene between Leo and Bea where, you know, they're essentially breaking up for good?
Tough. I mean, yeah, there was a few tears. Yeah, no, it was also really cold. I mean, we were filming in Sheffield, which is like the northern part of England, and I remember just being like freezing, and I was like, this is really gonna help with my emotion. I think this would be really good. So it actually worked out quite well. But yeah, it was tough filming that, and yeah, a whole day of draining emotion. And Thadia does an incredible job in that scene, and it was just so fun to play opposite that, and we were just bouncing off each other. And we knew this was like, it was also a weird moment because that was the sort of peak of their relationship, and we'd spent sort of 8 months together, and it was a very weird thing. But yeah, hopefully you did a good job and people enjoyed it. And I love the music. I love like the Billie Eilish was like put onto that. I think that was so cool.
You definitely hit the nail on the head that, you know, it was a really heavy emotional scene. I know I wanted to reach through the screen and give both Bea and Leo a hug. It was really sad.
Yeah,
so you guys
me
did
too.
a great job.
Yeah, it's sad. It's good. I remember watching it with my family, and I wasn't watching the screen. I was kind of just watching them. I was like, Are they upset? Do they look a bit teary? Oh, they're a bit glassy-eyed? Yes, I've done well. That's good. It's a terrible thing when you want your family to cry, but that was the aim of that scene. So yeah, no, yeah, great scene, and I'm so happy with how it turned out.
Mm-hmm. And since we don't know officially yet if there is a season 2, if we do get to see a second season, what would you be most excited to explore with Leo?
That's so tough. There's so many things. I think I'd like to see Leo's responsibility in the palace maybe up a bit, because obviously he's been sneaking out. They know that like he's been doing that, and they've been trying to keep him away. But so maybe in order to try and keep him there, they're going to up his sort of royal stature and try and get him a bit more involved. But I just want to see more like villains. I want it to be darker as well. Like, I think one of the assets of the show is having that sort of darker side of things, but the comedy to sort of lift it up at the same time. So there's so much scope for new villains, new monsters, that kind of thing. And to be able to draw from like characters from the Sherlock Holmes universe that we haven't even touched on is quite an exciting thing as well. And it leaves lots of possibilities.
Mm-hmm. And what's the biggest like lesson or takeaway that you took from, making the first season of the show?
I think just the stamina that you need when you're working on a job for a year, and you've got those long days, and it's draining, like especially when you're away from home as well. And obviously, I said like we were so lucky to have the rest of the guys, and we all got on so well, and like we'd go out and have dinner. Like me and Jojo, we went and did like this calzone challenge, which is where like it must have been like 15 pounds of mince, I want to say, in this calzone. And if you ate it, didn't even have a time limit. They were like, if you can eat all of this, you get it for free. And we were like, boom, let's go and do it. And we did not finish it. That thing was thick like that. It was so much meat and so much cheese. But hopefully, if we get a season 2, we'll go back and we'll film it and we will complete it. That's what I can promise. Whatever happens, we're going to go back to Liverpool and we're going to finish that eating challenge.
That's a good goal to have. I feel like that's an attainable goal.
Yeah, exactly. It's attainable, definitely.
That's hilarious. Oh, man. And before, we log off because we're almost out of time, is there anything that you want to say to all your fans that are watching right now?
Yes, of course. I mean, yeah, thank you so much, everyone that's been watching the show, been watching this, talking about the show. It honestly means so much to me. And for the people that have been with me from the start and seen like how tough it is, and to have a show like this that I can share with all you guys is so important. And yeah, I just hope you enjoy it and love it as much as I do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Harrison. This was awesome. It was great to talk about the Irregulars with you.
Thank you so much, Sydney. It's been lovely. Yeah, lovely chatting with you. And yeah, hope we can do it again sometime soon.
Awesome. For season 2, hopefully. Crossing all my fingers.
Hey, all the calzone challenge. One of the two. It's one of the two is going to happen. Yeah, either one. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Sydney. And yeah, have a good rest of the day.
You too. Bye, everybody.